What is up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new live stream. It is not a brand new live stream because I did start it and was talking to the camera for about 10 minutes and my microphone was not on. So I had to quickly go in, delete that video, and reset. So, welcome to the live stream once again. Drinking some coffee. Got my wife's Halo cup. So, drinking some coffee. Got it. I still got a quick run to do, about 4 to 6 miles today, just a little wake up run. So we're gonna get this live stream done, and then got to get back onto the trail or the treadmill. Not quite sure which one I'm gonna be hitting today. Probably because it's so late, I might actually be hitting up the treadmill or the neighborhood treadmill, which is just running around in a circle over and over again for 4 to 6 miles. But back to the topic of this live stream, and that is reset weeks. So if you look on, or if you follow my Strava, this was last week. So here is the Mount Sparta 24-hour race, and then this is last week. Now, I did do a couple hikes, a couple walks, and I think like one run. No, I don't think I did any runs at all last week. I just pretty much took a whole reset week. I barely covered any, or I barely even had any technology on me. There was most days that I just left my phone at the house and, hung out with the family, did a couple hikes, and just kind of relaxed and chilled out. Tried to push away as much technology as possible just to fully reset both my body and mind after that 24-hour race. That's definitely something I like to do after a string of races or a really hard training block, is just kind of shut everything down, training, everything, and just kind of reset everything. So that's going to be the topic of the day. There's not much that we can really talk about last week's training because pretty much nothing was actually done that whole week. Now, I have been playing quite a few video games during this week, getting back into my addiction of MMOs. There's a new one, there's a new MMO coming out called New Worlds. Me and my buddy were playing the beta, and that actually just closed yesterday, so I don't have any more MMOs to play. We are probably going to be reinstalling WoW for the month just to see how it is. I haven't played that game in 15 freaking years. I played it when I was 15 years old, 16 years old, and it's still going on. They're still releasing expansion packs and everything like that. There's still a huge group of players on that actual game, so it's going to be pretty interesting trying to delve back into that world and play WoW a little bit more. So we're gonna see if it's either WoW or New World. I'm gonna try to fit in a little bit more gaming if I can. I might have to actually start waking up early and working out during the day and trying to get a couple hours of gaming in the morning if that's possible. And that's one problem, not a problem, but that's one thing about running and having these big goals or having these hobbies that take up a lot of time, is sacrificing other things. Like, I want to just hang out on the couch or sit and play video games for hours and hours, but when your runs are starting to get up to those 2-hour range and then your long runs are going up to 3 to 4 hours, it takes a lot of time of preparation, driving to the trailhead, actually running, and then recovering, showering, and everything like that. So unfortunately, it is a sacrifice that I have to take, but I am getting some good training in. Hopefully I can start waking up a little bit earlier and actually getting some training in so I can do both. Live both of both worlds, is like, semi-pro, or not even semi-pro, just, average savage running every day, and then also being a great video game nerd and playing video games at the same time. So, hopefully, I can fit those two in. But let's go back to the topic of the week, and that is our reset week. So, this is something that I definitely like to take after a hard training block. If you look at my if you look at my Strava, basically for the last four months, I've been doing an ultra marathon length race every month. So starting in April, I did the 50K. 3 weeks later, we hit that 50 miler, or it's supposed to be a 55 miler. That was a pretty hard 55 miler, just coming out of 2020, COVID 19, where there were no real races that we could get into or really run. So it's been almost a year of no running, and then we went right into this 50K and then right into the 55 miler. That was, a really heavy elevation gain in that amount. Or it seemed like it was a lot more elevation gain than the 6,600. But a lot of rolling hills on the pavement, about 45 miles on roads and everything, and then the last 10 miles was just summiting up this big mountain, Mount Monadnock, or Monadnock, yeah, summiting up Mount Monadnock. So that was a pretty hard 55 miler, just trying to get my body back used to racing and going at that length. After that, it was only 4 weeks or 3 weeks again, and then we hit the Virginia 50 miler, the nighttime 50 miler. I thought that was going to be way easier because the elevation, or at least they stated that the elevation gain was supposed to be a lot easier. But man, that was a killer. I did the stupid mistake of, it wasn't even a mistake. It was a known thing of eating Korean barbecue, all you can eat Korean barbecue, 24 hours before the race. So I had terrible diarrhea during that race and got absolutely destroyed. The first 7 miles, I was completely drenched in sweat. So heat mitigation was bad, nutrition was bad, pre-race nutrition was bad, and I had to put in a lot of work on that race. So that was a pretty big struggle on that 50 miler. So kind of starting off this one went pretty well. This was a pretty rough one just because there was a lot of pavement and shaking out all the cobwebs of racing. And then this one was self-inflicted pain because of the diarrhea issue and the all-you-can-eat freaking Korean barbecue that I did. And then right after that, it was only I think I had 5 weeks of preparation after that race. 1, 2, 3, 4, five weeks of preparation on that race, and then we hit that 24-hour race. And that one went a lot better, but it did put a lot of stress. That Mount Sparta race did put a lot of stress on my muscular system, or just because it was all about elevation gain. I mean, I ended up doing 27,000 feet of elevation gain within 54 miles of running. The Grindstone 100 is 23,000 feet of elevation gain, but that's spread out through freaking 100 miles. So, man, that was quite a lot of elevation gain. It put a lot of stress on my body, and then having all those races leading up to up after each other, I could really start feeling the toll taking on my body and kind of like my mental fatigue. Not really complaining, like I wasn't down in the dumps or depressed or anything like that. I just felt like I wasn't as excited to be training or getting back into running as I should be. So what I did, I made sure that I took a reset week. And for me, and this is different for everybody, this is different on your skill level, your experience, how your body responds to recovery. For me, my reset week, I pretty much have to stop everything. Because if I do a little bit, I'll just want to do more. If I switch to lifting weights or doing CrossFit or riding my bike, I'll just want to push it as much as I do during my run. So typically what I'll do is I'll just do a full week where I completely reset. And this reset week isn't for every single run. It's only when, you know, all those race, or like, I don't take a reset week after every single race. It's just when I start feeling that load on my body, and then that's when I take that reset week. So it took about 4 ultra marathons for me to feel like this, and then determine that I needed to take that reset week. So for that whole week, and for that whole week, or for all of last week, I pretty much did nothing. I just hung out with the family. You know, we went to an amusement park, we went to a water park, we did a couple hikes, but didn't really think about running, didn't really think about filming or anything like that. I did start working on a couple videos, but I didn't want to bog myself down with too much technology or too much work that that would like bring me back into it. Because I am working on the Mount Sparta race recap video. That one is a little bit harder than I wanted it to be, just because I wasn't able to get as much video as I wanted on the actual race. So I have to fill it up with a lot of like talking head and other B-roll shots and everything like that, so it's actually watchable. So I'm working on that one. I'm working on, where are those shoes? Oh, I don't have them with me. But I'm working on a review for the Superior 5s. I wore those during the Mount Sparta Ultra Marathon race, so I have a in-depth review of the Superior 5s. I'm doing a in-depth review of the Olympus 4s. I did pretty much all of those races, or all 4 of those races in the Olympus 4s also. So I switched between the Superior 5s and the Olympus 4s on the Mount Sparta 24-hour race. And then I'm doing a third video comparing the Superior 5s and the Olympus 4s, on which one that I would choose and why. Spoiler alert, it's the Olympus 4s. Those things are like freaking, as much as they roll, I have somewhat of a rolling problem, and I don't like the feel of the tongue. But as much as they roll and the feel of the tongue, those things are like Spider-Man shoes. Pretty much, if it's wet, if it's muddy, if it's whatever, it doesn't matter. Those things like will cling to anything. Those are probably the grippiest shoes that I've ever worn, and they're pretty comfortable in those longer length actual runs. So I'm working on all those videos. I should have the first one out probably by the end of this week. I don't want to fill up the page with just a bunch of these live stream videos. Like, these are fun, and we're just starting to get rolling with them, trying to figure out the format and everything like that. But I do want to try to get as many videos out as possible, the evergreen videos as much as possible. There's a couple of military videos that I'm thinking about and trying to work on also, military transition videos and everything like that. So back to the reset week. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. I think what I would do on my reset week, maybe after the 100-miler, is eat better. So for some reason, whenever I go into anything, like, I just go all out, and it's the same thing for the reset week. Man, I ate like trash for this week. I ate a bunch of candy, ate out a bunch of times, a bunch of pizza, you know, a bunch of bull crap, and I feel like it. I feel like ass. Getting some zits because I've been eating like shit for the past week. So definitely, if you are doing these reset weeks, you know, don't let everything fall off the wagon. Do your relaxation. I should have probably been stretching this whole time, you know, limbering up, keeping everything nice and limber, and then also eating, you know, normal. I specifically almost ate worse. So at least eating normal would have been a better change, or even eating healthier, so then all this stimulus that I've been collecting for 4 freaking months, could have been, you know, as I'm recovering, as my body is like taking in all this training, it would actually have proper fuel to start rebuilding and recover a lot quicker. I probably put more damage. I probably put more damage with the amount of crap that I was actually eating than that actual run that I did at the Mount Sparta race. So, yeah, should probably be eating a little bit better on these reset weeks, and that's definitely something that I'm constantly working on. I'm constantly trying to make sure that I'm eating better and sleeping better, and trying to be a freaking adult. But let's keep it pretty short this week. I mean, there's not much to talk about. Once again, it's just that good reset week. If you guys ever feel your mental like, if you guys ever feel like you're just not really getting into it anymore, or you have a lack of motivation, if you always feel tired or anything like that, I strongly recommend, taking off a week, taking a week off of, 52 weeks of training or a year of whole training. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt your training at all. It might actually benefit in the long run. You're able to focus more on the task at hand. You're able to freaking put everything in it. You're able to mentally think about what you're actually doing and the training that you're actually working on. So I definitely wanted to lead or start this next training block for the 100-miler in October fresh and ready, both in my mental state and also my body state. So that's one thing that we can get into now, is just talking about what we're going to be running in October. So I'm officially signed up for the Mid-State Massive 100, and it is a 100-mile, I guess they do 30, 50, and 100-mile races. It's going to be October 9th, and the Mid-State Massive, or the Mid-State Trail, is basically a trail that goes from Connecticut or New Hampshire all the way to Connecticut, and it's a one-way it's a one-way freaking race. So you start in New Hampshire and you end in Connecticut, and then you got to make your way back. I guess there's like buses and everything, but I'll just have my wife pick me up. I'll try to get them a hotel down here in Connecticut, and then pick me up at the end of the actual race. I'll probably be doing this solo with no crew, just my drop bags and everything like that. That's kind of how I'm used to. That's really how I'm used to running these ultra marathons. For all the 50 milers, I didn't have a crew for the Mount Sparta 24-hour race. My family was there on and off, but we have two small babies, so she was in and out at the hotel and everything like that. So I didn't really have a crew for that either. Just my coolers at the bottom of it. Those were my crews, so I could just lift up the lid and get whatever I needed. When I did the 100K, my buddy Luke Ryan, he really helped me out on that one. He just followed me around in a car, and then you could pretty much stop wherever you wanted and refuel. So we stopped pretty much like every 10 miles, and I, recovered, cooled down a little bit, and got what fuel I needed from him. And then for the 100-miler, it was basically like Luke Ryan was there again, my buddy, but it was just him, and we didn't really know what we were doing, so he just kind of helped me out what he could, and then we pretty much just refueled, and I restocked off of my drop bags. So I never really had like a legit crew with me on these runs. Maybe that's something in the future, if I'm actually starting to chase down times and chase down people or anything like that. I could actually really look into a crew, but I'm gonna try to attempt this 100-miler unless some people start wanting to crew me or be out there for support or anything like that. But if nobody really wants to, I have no problem running these solo. it seems like I can just kind of really focus on the task at hand, get what I need at the aid station, and then take off. Maybe that's one thing that I do actually need to work on, is like taking my time in the aid stations and actually recovering a little bit and then taking off. But it seems like when I slow down, too much in the aid stations, my body starts locking up, and it takes me a lot longer to get back into the groove of things when I'm out, when I get out of the actual aid station, especially around like mile 50 and 60. If I sit down too long, like if I sit down more than 15 minutes, my body really starts shutting down, and it just wants to stay seated. So I typically only try to stay in aid stations for about 10 minutes. And that's just enough time to get my tailwind back in, my fuel back in, and then take whatever little bit of supplemental fuel I want inside that actual aid station. So this mid-state massive, I'm definitely planning on doing solo. But hey, if anybody wants to hit me up and wants to do a little bit of crewing, just let me know. And if things work out, maybe you guys can help me out. The one thing about this mid-state massive, it is way less elevation gain than the Grindstone 100, so I am kind of looking forward to that. I was going to do the Grindstone 100 this year, but I do want to hit that Grindstone 100 with a vengeance, so I'll probably be hitting it 2020 when I have a lot more training under my belt. My goal for that freaking race for the Grindstone 100 is under 24 hours, and I ran it in 33 hours, so that's going to be a huge increase, or a huge change in time for going from 33 hours to 24 hours on the same course. I think I can do it just because I had so many mistakes, so little training leading up to that actual race, that I think I will actually be able to get somewhat close to 24 hours for that race, especially with another year of actual training and a couple more 100-milers under my belt, or at least 50 milers to 100K races under my belt. I can already feel my body really responding to the training that I've been doing this season compared to 2019 and 2020. It's like a world of difference. I feel way stronger on the mountains, going up and going down, and my endurance at the higher end, around 40 to 50 miles, I feel way stronger than I ever did in 2019. I think in 2019 I would start getting tired around that marathon length. So, and my body would start locking up. I don't even know what the hell I was thinking about signing up for that Grindstone 100. I mean, I got it done, and it was a pain in the ass, and I was out of commission for about 2 months. I didn't feel normal for about 2 months after that Grindstone 100, but with proper training, proper nutrition, I think I can actually get it down under 24 hours. That's my goal. But Mid-State Massive is the next big test. Once again, that's in October 9th, and it is actually a little bit shorter than 100 miles. I think it's like 96 miles, probably with a little bit of the curves and everything like that. It's probably more around like 97 miles. And then they have quite a few aid stations. Almost every 10 miles or so, you get an aid station. All the elevation gain, or most of the elevation gain, is within that first, around 30 miles. So right here, you hit a ski resort. I'm not even going to attempt to say the names of the mountains or the ski resorts or the towns in New England, because every single freaking time I do, people just look at me like I'm crazy because they have their own way of saying things. I don't understand what's up with Massachusetts and the Northeast and how they pronounce things. I can't read, worth of shit anyways, and then these people pronounce shit super weird, so I'm always just at a loss with the pronunciations. But you hit a couple big hills right here, or a couple smaller mountains right here, and then right here is like the really big climb, and then it's all pretty much, downhill or like going downhill from that point. So what my plan is going to be, ooh, that was a big squeak. So what my plan is going to be is really take it easy for the first probably 50 miles. I'm going to be power hiking all these hills, running down the declines, and then definitely I'm going to take a really long time right here just power hiking up this mountain. This mountain isn't really that bad. I've done this mountain before. I think it's Wahashit or something. That trail is not too bad. So if I'm taking it moderately, it won't be too much damage on the actual body. And then running downhill, a lot of parts of this actual mountain is runnable downhill. It's pretty steep, but right when you get to like about this point in the mountain, halfway down, you can really start moving, and then it's pretty much coasting from then. There's a little other peaks here and there, but they're nothing compared to the first 30 miles. So I'm definitely going to be taking it easy for the first, 30 to 50 miles. Try not to get my heart rate to spike over 160 or over 150 really. Just staying in that zone 1, zone 2 for the first portion of it. And then after that, 30 miles, I'm really going to start picking it up and pushing it in probably around 30 miles to 70 miles. And then it's just on the struggle bus until the adrenaline rush of the last 10 miles. So that's the game plan. Trying to stay hydrated, stay fueled throughout the whole thing, and then trying to make sure that I don't blow out on those mountains in the first 30 miles of the race. But that's the plan. We got a lot more training coming up. We're going to start putting in back-to-back. We're going to start putting in back-to-back long runs. So that's going to be like, 22 miles and then 18 miles, or 26 miles and then 20 miles. But the mileage is going to just be going up and up and up until we hit that 100-miler. And then I'm going to be doing a couple self-supported runs. I have a plan of doing the whole Presidential Traverse in one day, and then potentially riding my bike back to my car. So the Presidential Traverse is just a big one-way, and I think it's about like 23 miles or so, with a shitload of elevation gain. So what my plan is to do is to drive up, drop off my bike at one end of the actual trail, go to the other end of the trail, do the whole Presidential Traverse, and then ride my bike back to my car and head home. That's going to be pretty much like a day adventure, so that's something I'm going to have to really plan and make sure that I have everything set up and I don't get stranded, or somebody steals my bike, or my tire pops or something and I get stranded on that freaking trail. So that is one of my plans. I have a couple other plans of doing some self-supported, or maybe one or two self-supported 50-milers. If you guys have any recommendations of cool runs in the Northeast, or any races that you guys see that are probably 100K and below between now and October, just let me know. If you have any ideas of cool long runs that I can do that you want to see me film, let me know if there's anything interesting that you want me to try to do in the Northeast area. Also in Virginia, we have family down there, so we do travel a lot down there. So if you guys want to see any specific runs or long runs, just let me know. I'll try to keep everything fresh, try to find some interesting runs to do and take you guys along with me. But we're gonna keep this live stream. I'm just kind of rambling now, so I'm just gonna keep this live stream short. If you guys have any questions, any comments, if you guys want to see anything, just let me know. Please like, subscribe, and follow. That really does help. And then if you have any recommendations, just leave a comment below. Let me know what you want to see. But other than that, get out there, start kicking some ass, slowly chip away, and become an average savage. Let's get out there and let's get it. Let's go.